At a press conference in New York, advocates said the administration's plan would eradicate federal recognition of an estimated 1.4 million Americans who consider themselves a gender other than the one they were born into.
What it also does is, in effect, over 150,000 transgender youth aged 13 to 17 will face unnecessary barriers to a safe education. It is giving a message to our young people that you are not worthy. Your lives are not worthy.
Here's the bottom line. This is America. If boys wish to dress like girls, it's their right. They have the same constitutional rights as do I or any other Americans, no more nor less. But there is no right to impose their warped view of humanity and their attack on God on all of us. That's all this is. So Team Trump is making a statement of fact. There are two genders, and that mankind does not have the power to create a third gender, period. Joining me now from Reston, Virginia, from the Media Research Center, Director of MRC-TV, Eric Scheiner. Eric, I hate to disappoint the folks in California, some of the folks in California, I should say, but Team Trump is correct. There is no non-binary or whatever binary choice. There's man and woman, and so what the Trump administration is doing here is simply saying, hey, this is the way it is, and we're going to abide by it.
They're saying that's the way it is, and they're giving it out. They're saying if you can prove scientifically otherwise, if there's a scientific or genetic proof otherwise, we're willing to look at it. So, you know, there's male, there's female, it's decided at birth, and unless you can prove something scientifically otherwise, that's what we're going to go with, what's on your birth certificate. But it seems like, hey, all right, well, produce the scientific evidence. Well, they don't want to do that because there is none. It's not there. And you have senators like Tom Udall, taking to Twitter saying, this is rolling back all the progress we made under the Obama administration. What progress? The fight over bathrooms? The fight over schools? The fight over prisons? The fight over homeless shelters? And who can be where? Was that really progress? It never got, those questions never got answered. They simply got shelved. And now we're saying we're going to remove these issues from the table. It's simply male or female. Look in the mirror. Hopefully you can figure it out.
I wish they would remove those three-gender bathroom signs because it confuses the living daylights out of me. I have to take a double take every time. I'm not sure which bathroom I'm using here. In Alabama, meantime, we should move on to something a little more positive. This really is a victory for the rights of the unborn here, both male and female, we should point out.
Indeed, there was a ruling. There was an individual there. This man was named Jesse Phillips. He faces the death sentence for killing his wife and their unborn child, 8 weeks old in the womb at the time. Well, he appealed saying, well, you know, the unborn child is not a person, so you can't convict me for that. Well, the court said, you know what? We recognize the legal rights of the unborn. They are a person. In other words, and this is from the Alabama Supreme Court. In other words, under the criminal laws of the state of Alabama, the value of life or of an unborn child is no less than the lives of other persons. They're recognizing it. Another justice has gone huge and said, you know what, the analogy here is, if I can get that word out today, is Roe versus Wade. You know, that's something that needs to be looked at and overturned because that's the one exception where we don't seem to value the life of an unborn child as a person.
I think we're headed toward that. I don't know if it's going to be specifically Roe versus Wade, but I think we're going to have a court case that's going to decide if we choose to protect life or not in this country. And hopefully we choose the right choice. One simple question on the census is driving the left into an absolute tizzy. And Wilbur Ross, Commerce Secretary, was part of their target to push back on this question that simply asks, are you a United States citizen or not?
Such a tough question to answer for some people, I guess. Yeah, California, New York, some other states, some immigration activist groups are very upset about that. It was going to be appearing on the census. It was announced in March. It's been held up since then because of these lawsuits. The Department of Justice asked the Department of Commerce to do this. Wilbur Ross, in the lawsuits, they wanted him to testify. They wanted to find out his motivation, what he was thinking. And the court said, no, this is pretty much, as U.S. Legal officials say, this is a fishing expedition into his thought process. There's really nothing to be gained there. So they're not going to allow it. Of course, their suit continues. It has a date tentatively in early November. So we'll see how that moves forward, as they don't want to have this question. And of course, why don't they want to have this question? Well, you know, if you have a higher population, but they're not U.S. citizens, you could lose things like certain federal funding and, seats in the House of Representatives, things of that nature.
Small little things like that. I know what Wilbur Ross was thinking. He's thinking what I'm thinking. I want to know how many illegals are in this country. It's a very simple concept.